She slept on the sidewalk everyone passed by, ignored, dirty, invisible. When the homeless woman calmly said, "I'm the owner of this building," people laughed. But the moment a single document was shown, faces froze, hands trembled, and the crowd fell into a silence no one dared to break. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and comment where in the world you're watching from, because now I'm going to tell you everything. You are very small to be wearing such a big frown. The little girl jumped. She had been staring, her small face serious. She looked from the dirty blanket to the woman's face. The woman's green eyes were calm. "I'm 7, the girl said, as if that explained everything. She held a stuffed rabbit tightly. "Why are you on the ground? It's cold." "The ground is where I am," the woman said. Her voice was soft but clear. "Elara!" A man's voice cut through the city noise. It was sharp, like the winter air. "Come here now." The woman, Samantha, did not look at the man. She watched the girl's shoes, shiny and black, shuffle on the sidewalk. The girl, Elara, glanced back at the voice but didn't move. "You should go to your father," Samantha said quietly. Elara nodded. She took one step back, then two, before turning and running toward a group of adults standing before the giant, old building. Samantha let out a slow breath, a small cloud in the cold morning. She pulled her thin blanket closer. Her bones ached from the hard concrete, a familiar pain. She had slept here, in this exact spot, for 3,650 days, give or take. She stopped counting a long time ago. Across the sidewalk, the group was talking. She knew who they were. She had been waiting for them. The man was Alistair Huxley. He stood very straight in a perfect gray suit. He pointed a gloved hand at the top of the stone building, the Vance Tower. "The last 4 floors will be completely redesigned," he said. His voice carried. It was a voice used to being listened to. "Private residences. The views are the key selling point." An older man in an old-fashioned suit, Walter Clark, gave a slow nod. "The zoning approval is the only real hurdle, a formality." A younger woman, Lisa Cho, tapped on a tablet. "The structural reports are all clean. The building is sound. It's just old." Samantha watched them. She saw the expensive leather of the lawyer's shoes. Mr. Clark's were polished, but the style was from another time. Lisa's were practical, with a low heel. Huxley's were immaculate, reflecting the gray sky. She saw the way Huxley stood, owning the space around him. She saw the way Lisa's eyes flicked from her screen to the building, taking in details. She saw Mr. Clark's bored expression, like he had seen this all before. Hundreds of people flowed around them all, the rich group and the homeless woman. Briefcases swung close to Samantha's head. High heels clicked past her blanket. No one looked down, except the little girl. Elara stood by her father, but her big eyes kept drifting back to Samantha. "The offer is more than fair," Huxley said, his tone final. "They'll take it. Everyone has a price." "Of course," Mr. Clark rasped. Samantha moved then. It was a slow unfolding. First her hands pressing against the cold ground, then her knees. She stood up, her body stiff. The blanket fell in a heap. She ignored the people who stepped around her, annoyed. She walked the 15 steps toward the group. Her dirty coat hung loose. Her matted hair was tied back. They didn't notice her until she was right there. Alistair Huxley paused mid-sentence. He looked at her. His eyes swept from her worn boots to her face. It was a quick, dismissive glance. He opened his mouth, likely to tell her to leave. Samantha spoke first. Her soft voice somehow silenced his. "You cannot buy this building," she said. She looked directly at him. Huxley's perfect eyebrows lifted. A faint, cold smile appeared. "I'm sorry? You cannot buy it," Samantha repeated, her words deliberate. "I am the owner." For a moment, there was only the sound of taxi horns and distant sirens. Then, Alistair Huxley laughed. It was a short, loud sound with no warmth. "Is that so?" he said, amusement in his blue eyes. He looked at his lawyers. "Do we need to negotiate with the sidewalk now, Mr. Clark?" Walter Clark let out a dry chuckle. Lisa Cho just looked uncomfortable, her grip tightening on her tablet. Samantha did not blink. She did not look away. She reached a hand inside her coat, past layers of thin fabric. Her fingers found the one thing she had kept safe for 10 years. She pulled out a single piece of paper. It was folded many times, its edges soft and dirty. It looked like trash. She unfolded it slowly, carefully. The paper was thick, a creamy color turned yellow with age. There was typing on it, and signatures in dark, fading ink. She held it out. Not to Huxley, but to Lisa, the younger lawyer. Lisa's professional instinct made her take it. "What is this?" Lisa asked, her eyes already scanning the words. "Proof," Samantha said. Alistair Huxley's smile was gone. He watched Lisa's face. He saw her eyes go wide. He saw her read a line, then read it again. "What does it say?" Huxley's voice was sharp. Lisa looked up, her face pale. It says this building, the Vance Tower. It's a title. It says it belongs to..." She looked at the woman in the dirty coat. "It belongs to Samantha Elise Vance." The name hung in the cold air. The busy streets seemed to fade away. Samantha stood still, waiting. This was the moment she had held on to for a decade. She watched the shock erase the confidence from Alistair Huxley's face. She saw the gears turning in old Mr. Clark's head. She saw the first crack in their perfect world. It was just a piece of paper, but it was her whole life, and it changed everything. The piece of paper felt heavy in Lisa's hands. The noise of the city seemed to drop away. "This is a property title," Lisa said, her voice quiet. She traced a line with her finger. "For the land and the structure known as the Vance Tower. It names the owner, Samantha Elise Vance." Alistair Huxley snatched the document from her. His gloves made the paper seem even more fragile. He stared at it, his eyes moving quickly over the typed lines and the old signatures. "This is trash," he said, but his voice lacked its usual force. "It's a prop, a forgery." He thrust the paper toward Mr. Clark. "Look at this. Tell me it's worthless." Walter Clark took the paper slowly. He pulled a pair of glasses from his jacket pocket. He did not look at Samantha. He studied the document. He held it up to the gray light. He looked at the signature at the bottom for a long time. "Well?" Huxley demanded. His hands were clenched at his sides. "It's on the correct paper stock for the period, mister," Clark said, his dry voice giving nothing away. "The notary seal appears authentic. The signature..." He paused. "The signature matches other documents I have seen from Silas Vance, the man who built this place." "What are you saying?" Huxley's words were sharp. "I am saying it is not an obvious forgery you can dismiss with a laugh, mister," Clark said, handing the paper back to Lisa. "It requires examination, and a lawyer." "I am looking at a lawyer," Huxley said, gesturing to both of them. "Do your job. Make this go away." Lisa was still reading. "It says here the title was never transferred. It was supposed to pass directly to the granddaughter upon the grandfather's death. That was over 10 years ago." She finally looked up at Samantha. "Is that you? Are you Samantha Vance?" Samantha gave a single, slow nod. "I am." A crowd had begun to gather. People stopped walking. They watched the well-dressed group arguing with the homeless woman. Phones were lifted, recording. Huxley noticed the audience. His face tightened. This was not part of his plan. He took a step toward Samantha, his voice low and controlled. "If this building was yours, why are you sleeping on the street in front of it? That makes no sense." Samantha met his gaze. Her green eyes were clear. "It makes perfect sense. This is my home. I was waiting for you." "For me?" "For someone like you," she corrected. "Someone with enough money and enough want. Someone who would make the people who have been pretending to own my home finally show their cards." "This is ridiculous," Huxley turned to his lawyers. "She is clearly unstable. She has a fantasy. This paper is part of it." "The paper is real," Lisa said softly, almost to herself. She was looking at a stamped date. "It was filed with the county. There will be a record." "Then there has been a mistake." Huxley's composure was cracking. "A clerical error for 10 years? No, this is a stunt." Elara tugged on her father's coat. "Daddy, is the lady a princess?" "No, Elara, she is not a princess." He did not look at his daughter. "But she said the castle is hers," Elara whispered, looking up at the tall stone building. Mr. Clark placed a thin hand on Huxley's arm. "Alistair, we are causing a scene. This is not the place. We need to take this situation to the office. We need to investigate properly." Huxley shook off the hand, but he saw the cameras. He saw the dozens of eyes watching him. He took a deep breath. He smoothed the front of his suit jacket. He looked at Samantha with a new, cold calculation. You want money. That is what this is about. Name your price, right now. Samantha did not answer. She simply reached out and took her paper back from Lisa's hands. She folded it with the same care as before and tucked it back inside her coat, close to her heart. The building is not for sale, she said. You cannot buy what is already owned. She turned and walked back to her blanket on the cold sidewalk. She sat down. She pulled the thin fabric around her shoulders. She looked straight ahead, as if they were no longer there. The group stood frozen. The crowd began to murmur and slowly move on. Lisa hugged her tablet to her chest. What do we do now? We do our jobs, Mr. Clark rasped. We start digging. We find the flaw. There is always a flaw. Alistair Huxley stared at the woman on the ground. He had never been told no so quietly, so finally. His entire plan, the crown jewel of his career, was now sitting on a dirty sidewalk. Find it, he said to his lawyers, his voice like ice. Find the flaw and destroy it. He took Alara's hand. Let's go. As they walked to the waiting black car, Alara looked back. She saw the lonely woman, small against the giant building. She saw a story there, a sad one. Her father saw only a problem. Inside the car, as it pulled away from the curb, Huxley finally spoke. I want her whole life on my desk by tomorrow morning. Every detail. I want to know what happened 10 years ago. On the sidewalk, Samantha watched the car disappear into traffic. The shaking in her hands started only after they were gone. She had done it. The first move was made. Now the past was about to wake up, and it would come for her. The silence in the office was heavy. It was a large room on a high floor with a view of other buildings. Alistair Huxley stood by the window, his back to them. Lisa Cho sat at a polished table, the old paper now in a clear plastic sleeve in front of her. Walter Clark leaned against a bookcase watching Samantha. Samantha sat in a chair. It was the first time she had sat in a chair like that in 10 years. She held herself very straight. We have verified the document is real, Lisa began, her voice formal. It was filed with the county records office on the 15th of April, 2004. The signature matches known samples from Silas Vance. Huxley did not turn around. So there is a paper. Explain the rest. Explain the sidewalk. Samantha looked at her own hands resting on the table. They were clean. Someone had given her a wet towel in the lobby. The dirt was gone, but the lines remained. My grandfather built the Vance Tower, she said. Her voice was still soft, but it filled the quiet room. He raised me in the apartment on the top floor. My parents died when I was a child. When I was 25, he died too. The building was left to me. The paper says that. Who managed the building after that? Lisa asked. My uncle, Richard Vance. He was my only family. He handled the money, the repairs, the rents. I was studying art. I trusted him. She said the words plainly. Walter Clark let out a low sound. And this trust was a mistake. Yes, Samantha said. It started slowly. He would say things. You seem tired, Samantha. You forgot to pay a bill. I fixed it for you. You are so scattered, just like your mother was. She repeated the phrases without emotion. Then there were papers to sign. Always papers. He said they were for taxes, for maintenance. I signed them. Lisa was taking notes. Do you remember what these papers were? No, I did not understand them. I asked. He told me not to worry my pretty head about dull business. She looked up, first at Lisa, then toward Huxley's back. Then one day, he said I was not well. He said I was a danger to myself. He had 2 men in white coats come to the apartment. They took me to a private clinic. A mental hospital, Mr. Clark stated. A place with locked doors, Samantha corrected. I was there for a little while. When I got out, everything was different. My uncle had gone to a judge. He had the papers I signed. He had a letter from a doctor at the clinic. The judge said I was not able to manage my life. My uncle was put in charge of everything. Of me. Huxley turned from the window. His face was hard. And you let this happen? Samantha met his gaze. I was 25. I was alone. My word against his and a doctor's letter and a stack of legal papers. Who do you think the judge believed? What happened then? Lisa's pen was still. He sold my apartment. He moved my things to storage. He said he would take care of it all until I was better. One day, he gave me a little money. He said, "Go get some fresh air, Samantha. See the city." When I came back, the locks on the building were changed. My key did not work. The man at the door did not know me. He told me to leave. She stopped for a moment. The only sound was the faint hum of the city through the glass. I had nowhere to go. The bank accounts were empty. My name was on nothing. I had only the clothes I wore and one paper. My grandfather gave it to me himself when I was 18. He said, "This is your roots, Sam. Never lose it." So I did not lose it. I kept it. I slept on the sidewalk where I could see my home. I waited. For 10 years? Lisa's voice was a whisper. For 10 years, I waited for someone to try and buy the building from the fake owners. I knew one day someone would. Someone with power. That person would be my chance to show the truth. Alistair Huxley walked slowly to the table. He looked down at the plastic-covered title. "And I am that person." "You are," Samantha said. "You used me," he said, anger tightening his words. "You presented yourself," she replied. Walter Clark pushed himself away from the bookcase. "A very sad story, but stories are not proof. A doctor declared you incompetent. That is a legal fact until another court says it is not." "The letter from that doctor was a fake," Samantha said, her voice firmer now. "My uncle paid him. I have no proof of that. Not yet. But it is the truth." Huxley looked at his lawyers. "This uncle, Richard Vance, where is he now?" Lisa answered, already knowing. "Our initial search shows he sold the building's management rights to a corporate shell company 3 years ago. He moved to Florida. He lives in a large house." "Of course he does," Huxley said, his lip curling. He focused on Samantha again. "You have one paper. You have a story. You have no money, no lawyer, and a legal history of mental illness. You think you can win?" Samantha slowly stood up. She was not as tall as him, but she did not look small. "My grandfather believed I could. He left me the building. That is all I need to know." She looked at the title on the table. "I would like my paper back now." Lisa carefully slid it out of the plastic and handed it to her. Samantha folded it and placed it inside her coat. "You can't just leave," Huxley said. "I can," Samantha said. "I am not employed by you. I am not in your custody. I am the owner of a building you want. You know where to find me." She walked to the door. No one moved to stop her. As the door closed softly behind her, Huxley put both hands on the table. "I want that building. Her story changes nothing. Do you understand? Find a way to make her go away." Lisa looked down at her notes, at the words, "fake doctor's letter" and "stolen accounts." Her job was to find the flaw, but for the first time she wondered if her job was to find the truth. Lisa sat at her desk long after the office grew dark. The only light came from her computer screen. Files were spread around her. Bank statements, property records, old court documents. The numbers were telling a story. A different story from the one in the official files. She picked up her phone and called Mr. Clark. He answered on the second ring. "It's Lisa. Can you talk?" "If it's about the Vance file, I am always available," his dry voice replied. "I've been through the bank records from the estate, from the time Samantha turned 25. Lisa took a breath. Large sums of money were moved out of her personal accounts in the 6 months after her grandfather died. All the transfers were approved by Richard Vance as her guardian. The destination accounts are now closed. He was her guardian. He had the legal right, Mr. Clark said. "But look at the amounts," Lisa insisted. $100,000, $200,000. These weren't for bills. This was emptying the accounts. By the time she was declared incompetent, there was almost nothing left. That's not management. That's theft. Theft is a strong word for old financial records. It was 10 years ago, Lisa. "Then there's the doctor," she continued, clicking open another file. "Dr. Felix Reed. He wrote the letter to the judge saying Samantha Vance was a danger to herself. He ran a small private clinic upstate. And he lost his medical license 5 years ago for taking bribes from pharmaceutical companies, for writing false prescriptions." Lisa leaned forward. His credibility was already garbage. What if Richard Vance paid him too? She could hear the old man's slow breath on the line. What if he did? Our client's concern is the building's title, not decade-old gossip about a disgraced doctor. It's not gossip. Lisa's voice rose. She lowered it. It's a pattern. The uncle takes her money. He gets a fake doctor to say she's crazy. He gets a judge to give him control. Then he throws her out. It's a crime. A real, actual crime. Lisa, Mr. Clark's voice was patient, like he was talking to a child. Listen to me. Our job is not to solve crimes. Our job is to represent Mr. Huxley's interests. His interest is a clear title to that building. Samantha Vance's story, true or not, is a cloud on that title. Our task is to make that cloud go away. How? By ignoring this? By using it, he corrected. The official record states she was declared incompetent by a judge. That is a fact. That fact makes any claim she makes now questionable. Our strategy is to emphasize that fact, to remind everyone that she is not a reliable person. Lisa stared at the screen, at the photo of Dr. Reed's disciplinary hearing. She has the original title, Walter. It's real. Ownership is a story we tell the county clerk, Mr. Clark said, repeating his old phrase. Right now, the story on file is that a judge gave control to Richard Vance. That is the story we support. We make her look like a confused woman clinging to an old piece of paper. We do not help her prove her case. That's wrong. It is our job. His tone was final. Bring me your findings tomorrow, but frame them as vulnerabilities in her claim, not as evidence for her. Do you understand the difference? Lisa didn't answer. Lisa, do you understand? Yes, she said quietly. I understand the difference. She hung up. The office was silent again. She looked at the records. The stolen money, the corrupt doctor, the lonely title. Her parents had worked 2 jobs each so she could go to law school. They believed in the law. They believed it protected people. She closed the file on Dr. Reed. She opened a new search. She typed another name, the judge who had presided over Samantha's competency hearing. He had retired years ago. She would need to find his clerk, his notes, anything. She was not just looking for flaws in Samantha's story anymore. She was looking for the truth. And for the first time, she understood that the truth and what helped her client might be 2 very different things. The architectural plans for the Vance Tower were spread across Lisa's desk. She was looking for something, anything that might connect to Samantha's story. She had found the judge's old notes. They were brief. They mentioned the doctor's letter and the uncle's concern. They did not mention talking to Samantha herself. What are you hoping to find in those old blueprints, Mr. Clark asked from the doorway. He held 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to her. I don't know, Lisa admitted. She took the coffee. Thank you. Something feels off. The uncle moved so fast. He had everything in place too perfectly. A premeditated crime, you mean? Lisa nodded, sipping the hot coffee. Yes, I think it was. Mr. Clark sighed and sat in the chair opposite her. He looked at the large sheets of paper. They showed the building's floors, the walls, the elevator shafts. You are a good lawyer, Lisa. You see the details, but you are looking for a tree and missing the forest. What do you mean? The forest is our client. Mr. Huxley is losing patience. The sellers of the building are getting nervous. Every day this continues, the deal gets colder. He pointed at the blueprints. This is not helping him. It might, Lisa said. She pointed to the basement level. Look here. The original plans show the basement layout, but these later renovation notes from the 1960s show a change. A small storage room here. It disappears on the newer plans. It's just a wall. A drafting error. Common. Maybe. Lisa's eyes were bright. Or maybe someone closed up a room. Samantha's grandfather did renovations in the 60s. What if he closed something up? Something he didn't want found? Mr. Clark leaned in. His interest finally caught. A hiding place. A secret, Lisa corrected. She shuffled through her files. She found a photocopy of the title document. In the margin, in very faint handwriting, were 3 words. She hadn't noticed them before. Look, next to Silas Vance's signature. It's so light. Mr. Clark put on his glasses. He squinted. It says, for her future. That's all. For her future. Lisa's heart beat faster. What if he left more than the building? What if he left something inside it? Alastair Huxley stood in the dim basement of the Vance Tower. A workman with a small electric hammer stood nearby. The wall in front of them was plain concrete, covered in dust. This is a waste of time, Huxley said, adjusting his cufflink. The basement air was cold. The blueprint says there was a door here, Lisa insisted. She held up the old plan. The measurements are exact. There's a space behind this wall. Do it, Huxley told the workmen. The sound of the hammer was loud in the confined space. Chips of concrete flew. After several minutes, the workmen stopped. There's metal behind here, sir, not a pipe, a flat metal plate. Huxley stepped closer. Break it. It took another 20 minutes to make a hole big enough to see through. Lisa shone a flashlight into the dark space. It was a small room, no bigger than a closet. In the center sat a single, old metal box. Her hands were shaking as she reached through the hole. She pulled the box out. It was heavy. It was not locked. She placed it on the floor and opened the lid. Inside, there were no jewels, no cash. There was a stack of old stock certificates and a letter, sealed in a yellowed envelope. The name on the front was written in a strong, clear hand, asterisk for Samantha Elise Vance, to be opened only by her. But beneath that, another line, asterisk. If this is found by another, know this. Her future is secured within these walls. What does it mean? Huxley asked, his voice tense. Lisa carefully opened the envelope. She read the letter inside silently. Her face lost all its color. She looked up at Huxley. It's from her grandfather. He says he converted most of his personal wealth into gold bars after the war. He didn't trust banks. He built a vault, a second, smaller room behind this one. The combination is Samantha's birthday. She looked at the wall behind the hole. The gold was for her future. He says no one else knew, not even her uncle. The word asterisk gold asterisk hung in the dusty air. Huxley stared at the wall. His eyes were wide. The building was no longer just a building. It was a treasure chest. His desire turned into something darker, more desperate. Does she know? He whispered. I don't think so, Lisa said. He says only she should open this letter. She can't know, Huxley said, his mind racing. If she finds out, if she gets that gold, she'll never sell. She'll have all the power. He turned to Lisa, his gaze intense. This stays between us. Do you understand? Mr. Clark cannot know. No one can know. But it's hers. It's in a building I'm trying to buy, he snapped. He took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. This changes everything. We need to get her to drop her claim, now, before she finds out what's really at stake. He looked from the heavy metal box to the broken wall. The secret was out, and it made everything much, much worse. The secret of the gold sat in Alistair Huxley's mind like a living thing. He could not focus. In meetings, he saw walls of concrete and hidden metal boxes. He had told Lisa to say nothing, but the weight of the knowledge made him snap at everyone. That evening, in their penthouse, he stared out the window. Ilara sat at the large dining table, coloring. Daddy? She asked, not looking up from her drawing. Yes, Ilara. Is the sad lady still outside her castle? Huxley's jaw tightened. She is not a princess, and it is not a castle. It is a building, and yes, she is still there. It's going to be very cold tonight, Ilara said. She said it as a simple fact. The man on the TV said so. The building has walls. She will be fine, Huxley said, his voice short. Ilara was quiet for a moment. She put down her blue crayon. She doesn't go inside the walls, Daddy. She stays on the outside. Huxley turned from the window. That is her choice. Now finish your drawing. But later, when the nanny was preparing for bed, Huxley saw Ilara move quietly through the large living room. She went to a closet and pulled out a soft blue blanket from a basket of spare linens. She folded it clumsily. Then she went to the kitchen. He watched from the hallway as she took a piece of bread, some turkey and cheese. She made a sandwich, her small face serious with concentration. She put it in a clean plastic bag. What are you doing, Ilara? He asked, stepping into the light. She jumped, clutching the blanket to her chest. I am going to lose this blanket. You always say I lose them, so I will lose it outside. You are not going outside. It is dark. The streetlights are on, she said, her logic unshakable. The doorman will be there. I will be safe. You are not taking that to the woman. His tone was firm. Her name is Samantha, Ilara said. She said the name carefully, like she had been practicing it. She told you her name. You should use it. Huxley was stunned into silence for a moment. He walked over and knelt in front of his daughter. Ilara, listen to me. That woman is causing a lot of trouble. She is not a good person to know. Elara looked at him with her large, honest eyes. She seemed sad, not bad. You gave money to that sad man who plays the violin in the park last week. This is the same, but with a blanket and a sandwich. It is not the same. He struggled to explain the difference between casual charity and a personal, complicating kindness. She wants to take something very important from me. You wanted to take her castle, Elara whispered. Maybe you are both a little wrong. She walked around him, holding her offerings. She pressed the button for the elevator. Elara, he called, but the elevator door opened and she stepped inside, giving him a small, determined wave before the doors closed. He cursed and grabbed his coat. He found her on the sidewalk 2 blocks away. She was standing a few feet from Samantha's blanket. Samantha was sitting up, watching the little girl approach. Elara held out the blanket. You look cold. My dad says I always lose mine, so you can keep this one. Samantha looked at the blanket. She looked at the sandwich in Elara's other hand. Her face, usually so still, showed a crack of surprise. Slowly, she reached out and took the blanket. It was soft and clean. Thank you, Samantha said. Her voice was even softer than usual. I made the sandwich, Elara said, handing it over. It's turkey. I hope you like turkey. I do, Samantha said. She placed the sandwich neatly on her lap. She did not eat it. She just looked at it. My name is Elara. I know, Samantha said. You have a good name. Do you have a home to go to? Elara asked. I am working on it, Samantha replied. Alistair reached them, putting a hand on Elara's shoulder. That is enough. Time to go. He did not look at Samantha. Elara looked up at Samantha. Good luck working on it. Then she let her father lead her away. Samantha watched them go. She slowly unfolded the blue blanket. She wrapped it around her shoulders. It was warm. She looked down at the simple sandwich. A feeling she had forgotten pressed against her chest. It was not pity. It was kindness. A kindness with no strings attached. In the back of the car, Elara was quiet. You must not do that again, Huxley said, trying to sound calm. It is not safe. She is safe, Elara said, looking out the window. She is just alone. Huxley had no answer. His daughter had seen a person. All he could see was an obstacle, now wrapped in a blue blanket he had paid for. The confusion twisted inside him, mixing with his desperate want for what was hidden in the walls. It was all becoming tangled, and he did not know how to cut the knot. The blue blanket made Samantha invisible in a new way. Before she had been part of the sidewalk. Now she was a person with a clean blue blanket. People's eyes flickered to it with mild surprise before looking away. 3 days after Elara's visit, a different car pulled to the curb. It was a large silver car. A man got out. He was in his late 50s. He wore a tan coat that was too light for the cold. He looked up at the Vance Tower with a smile that did not reach his eyes. Samantha's blood went cold. Her hands, tucked under the blanket, clenched into fists. She knew the way he stood. She knew that smile. Richard Vance saw her. His smile grew wider, emptier. He walked over, his shoes shiny on the concrete. Samantha, he said. His voice was warm, like syrup. My God, look at you. She said nothing. She looked straight ahead. I heard a crazy story all the way down in Florida, he said, shaking his head. They said you were causing trouble, lying to people. I had to come. I'm still your family. I'm still responsible for you. You are not responsible for me, Samantha said, her voice flat. Of course I am, he said, sounding hurt. The court said so, remember? You were so sick, Sam. You needed protection. I did everything to help you. He crouched down, trying to catch her eye. But this? Claiming you own the building? That's your illness talking again. It makes me so sad to see you like this. I have the title, she said. You have an old piece of paper, he corrected gently. A souvenir from Granddad. It doesn't mean anything. The real papers, the legal papers, say I am in control, for your own good. He leaned closer, his voice dropping. I also heard a stranger story, about gold. Did you start that rumor too? Trying to make the building seem more valuable? Samantha's heart skipped. Gold. She kept her face still. I don't know what you're talking about. Richard studied her. He saw her confusion. It was genuine. A new greedy light sparked in his eyes. If she didn't know about the gold, then the rumor might be true, and she was the key to it. "It doesn't matter," he said, standing up. He brushed dust from his pants. "I'm here to fix this, to help you. I've already spoken to the lawyers for the man trying to buy the building. Mr. Huxley, we're going to get you the help you need, Samantha. Real help. You won't have to sleep outside anymore." Fear, cold and sharp, cut through her. "I don't need your help. Everyone can see that you do," he said, gesturing to the sidewalk. "This isn't safe. It isn't healthy. I'm your uncle. I love you." He said the words like he was reading from a card. "I'll be in touch soon. We'll get this all cleared up." He got back into the silver car and drove away. Samantha sat frozen. The word gold echoed in her mind. Her grandfather's letter in the metal box. For her future. Was that what it meant? Had her grandfather hidden gold? And if Richard knew about it, that meant someone else had found it. Huxley. It had to be. She was no longer just fighting for her home. She was sitting on top of a secret that two greedy men now wanted. One with a lawyer and money, the other with a court order and a fake smile. Both thought she was weak. Both thought she would break. She pulled the blue blanket tighter. The kindness in it felt very far away. She was in danger. She had no one to help her. The walls of her home stood above her, holding a secret she didn't even understand. And the two men who wanted to tear it all down were now closing in from different sides. Lisa sat in the small, plain office of a legal aid lawyer. She had called in a favor. Samantha sat across from her, the blue blanket folded on her lap. "I can't be your lawyer," Lisa said. "I work for Huxley. It would be a conflict. But my friend here can file the papers to get the old court decision overturned. The one that said you were incompetent." The legal aid lawyer, a tired-looking woman named Anna, nodded. "We have the evidence Lisa found. The bank record showing the stolen money. The proof that Dr. Reed lost his license for fraud. It's strong." Samantha looked at Lisa. "Why are you doing this? You will lose your job." Lisa thought of her parents. She thought of the bills. Then she thought of the forged doctor's letter. "My mom didn't work 2 jobs so I could help a rich man bury the truth," she said quietly. "It's time I acted like it." The court date was set for 1 week later. The courtroom was full. Alistair Huxley sat at one table with Walter Clark. Richard Vance sat at another, smiling his empty smile. Samantha and Anna sat at a small table. Lisa sat in the public gallery, alone. The judge was an older man with a serious face. "This is a hearing to revisit the competency ruling on Samantha Elise Vance," he began. "We will hear evidence." Anna stood up. She presented the bank records. She called a records clerk who confirmed the large transfers to accounts controlled by Richard Vance. Richard's lawyer objected. "My client had legal guardianship. He was authorized to manage the funds." "To manage, not to steal," Anna replied. Then Anna presented the file on Dr. Felix Reed. She showed the court documents where he lost his medical license. She showed that his clinic received a payment of $50,000 from Richard Vance 1 week before he wrote the letter about Samantha. Richard's smile faded. "That was for her care," he insisted. "The clinic's records show she was only there for 3 days," Anna said. "That is very expensive care." Finally, Anna said, "I call Samantha Vance to the stand." Samantha walked slowly to the witness chair. She promised to tell the truth. She looked at the judge, not at her uncle or Huxley. Anna asked her questions. "Who raised you?" "My grandfather, Silas Vance, in the Vance Tower." "What happened when he died?" "My uncle, Richard Vance, said he would help me. He had me sign papers. Then he said I was sick. He brought men to take me to a clinic. When I came out, he told a judge I was not well. The judge gave him control of my life. Then my uncle changed the locks. I had nowhere to go. I have slept outside for 10 years. Her voice was clear. It did not shake. "Why did you never go to the police before?" Anna asked. "I tried," Samantha said. 2 times. They saw the court order. They saw me. They told me to listen to my uncle. They did not believe me." Richard's lawyer stood up for cross-examination. "Miss Vance, you have a history of mental illness, do you not?" "I have a history of my uncle saying I was ill," Samantha corrected. "You lived on the street by choice?" "I lived on the street because my home was stolen." The lawyer tried to trip her up on details, on dates. Samantha answered each question calmly. She had lived this story every day for 10 years. She did not forget. Then the lawyer asked, "Is this about money? Now that you know about the gold, you want to come back and claim it?" Samantha looked confused. "Gold? I don't know about any gold." In the gallery, Huxley closed his eyes. Richard Vance's face turned red. The secret was out in the open, in front of the judge. The judge looked at Richard. "What gold is he referring to, Mr. Vance?" Richard stammered. A rumor, nothing." The judge made a note. He looked at all the evidence. He looked at Samantha. He looked at the bank records and the story of the disgraced doctor. After the lawyers finished, the judge spoke. "The court finds the original competency ruling was based on fraudulent evidence. That ruling is overturned. The guardianship of Richard Vance is terminated." He turned to Samantha. "The legal claim to your property appears strong, but a full trial for the building's title is a separate matter. That will proceed." It was not a complete win, but it was the first win. Samantha was no longer legally sick. She was a person in the eyes of the law again. As people filed out, Huxley walked past Lisa. He didn't look at her. He just said 2 words. "You're fired." Walter Clark gave her a sad, knowing shrug. "Truth is what the judge decides it is. Today he decided on yours. I hope it was worth it." Richard Vance pushed past them, his face dark with rage. He shot a look at Samantha that held no family love, only a promise of more fight. Samantha stood by the table. She looked at Lisa. "Thank you," she said. Lisa nodded, her job gone, her future uncertain. The battle for the building was next, and now, everyone in the room knew there was gold involved. The fight had just become much more dangerous. The courtroom was silent. 1 week had passed since the hearing. Now the judge returned to give his final decision on the building. Samantha wore clean clothes Lisa had bought for her. She sat next to Anna. Alistair Huxley sat stiffly beside a new lawyer. Richard Vance was there, his smile gone, replaced by a nervous frown. The judge entered. Everyone stood, then sat. "In the matter of the Vance Tower property," the judge began, his voice filling the quiet room, "I have reviewed all evidence. The original title held by Samantha Vance, the financial records showing the removal of funds, the fraudulent letter from Dr. Reed, the testimony of all parties." He paused, looking over his glasses at Richard Vance. "The evidence is clear and convincing. The document naming Samantha Elise Vance as owner is valid. The transfer of management to Richard Vance was based on a forgery and deceit. Therefore, the court finds that legal ownership of the Vance Tower and all assets within it never lawfully left Samantha Vance." A soft gasp went through the room. Samantha did not move. She held her breath. The judge continued. "Richard Vance, through fraud and theft, deprived Miss Vance of her property and her liberty for a decade. This court is referring the matter to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Officers, please take him into custody." 2 police officers walked to Richard's table. The sound of their shoes was loud. They asked him to stand. They put handcuffs on his wrists. The metal clicked. Richard's face was white. He looked at Samantha, his eyes wide with real fear for the first time. "Sam, please, I'm family." Samantha looked back at him. She said nothing. She watched as the officers led her uncle away. The man who had stolen 10 years of her life was gone in less than a minute. The judge then turned to Alistair Huxley. "Mr. Huxley, your purchase agreement was with corporate entities that had no true right to sell. That agreement is void. The building is not yours. Any claims you have are with those entities, not with Miss Vance." Huxley's head dropped. He stared at the polished wood of the table. "Furthermore," the judge said, "the mention of hidden assets, specifically gold, during these proceedings is troubling. Those assets located within the building are part of the property. They belong to Miss Vance. Any attempt to remove them would be theft." The judge closed his folder. "This case is concluded. Miss Vance, you are free to take possession of your property, today." He struck his gavel once. The sound was final. People began to talk, to move. Reporters rushed for the doors. Samantha felt Anna squeeze her arm. "You did it. It's over." But Samantha was looking across the room. Alistair Huxley stood up slowly. He looked lost. He had come for a crown jewel and left with nothing. His plan was over. Then a small figure darted from the gallery. Elara ran to her father. She wrapped her arms around his waist. He placed a hand on her back, but his eyes were empty. Elara looked over at Samantha. She let go of her father and walked across the space between them. She stopped in front of Samantha. "Is the lady going to be okay now?" Elara asked. She wasn't talking to her father. She was talking to Samantha. Samantha looked down at the little girl, the one who had seen her, the one who had brought a blanket. A feeling, warm and fragile, broke through the ice inside her. "Yes," Samantha said. Her voice was rough. "I am going to be okay now." She tried to smile. It was a small, unfamiliar movement of her face, but it was real. "Good," Elara said. She smiled back, a full, bright smile. Then she returned to her father's side, taking his hand. Huxley looked from his daughter's face to Samantha's. He saw no triumph there, no gloating. He saw only a tired woman who had told the truth. The shame hit him then, not for losing, but for what his daughter had seen him become in this fight. He led Elara out of the courtroom without another word. Samantha stood alone for a moment in the noisy room. She had her name back. She had her home back. She had won. But the victory felt quiet. It felt heavy. She thought of the gold she still hadn't seen. She thought of the empty building waiting for her. She thought of the man who had lost everything and the little girl who held his hand. The silence in the Vance Tower's empty lobby was immense. Samantha stood on the clean marble floor, her footsteps echoing. She had a bank account now. The gold, once counted, was enough for 10 lifetimes. But the huge, quiet building felt like a shell. Lisa Cho came to see her a week after the trial. She looked tired, but calm. "Any job offers?" Samantha asked. They sat in the building's old management office. Sunlight streamed through dusty windows. "A few," Lisa said. "But they're from firms like Huxley's. I don't think I want that anymore." "What do you want?" Lisa thought for a moment. "I want to use the law to find the truth, not to hide it." Samantha nodded. She looked out the window at the city. "I have a truth," she said. "I have this building. I have more money than I need. But I see the people on the street every night. I see them the way everyone saw me, invisible." "What will you do?" Lisa asked. "I need help to do it," Samantha said. She turned to Lisa. "But not just any help." Alistair Huxley was surprised when Lisa called him. He expected anger or legal threats. He did not expect an invitation. He met Samantha in the same lobby, now just the two of them. He held himself stiffly, his pride a visible wound. "You won," he said. "Why am I here? To see your victory?" "No," Samantha said. Her voice was quiet in the big space. "I saw your face in the courtroom. You were not sad about the building. You were sad because your daughter was watching you lose. You were ashamed she saw the man you had become." Huxley flinched. He said nothing. "I do not want to be like my uncle," Samantha continued. "I do not want to be like the people who only see money and power. I have a proposal." "A proposal?" he asked, wary. "This building will not be offices. It will become a place for people who have no home. There will be rooms to sleep, a kitchen for meals, doctors to help, a place to feel safe." Huxley stared at her. "A homeless shelter? In the middle of Manhattan? That's not a business." "It is not a business," Samantha agreed. "It is a home. I will use the gold to build it, but I cannot do it alone. I do not know how to run such a place. I do not know about permits, construction, hiring." A bitter laugh escaped him. "And you think I do? You know how to make things happen," she said. "You know how to get things done. That is what I need. But you would have to do it my way. You would have to see the people, not as problems, but as people." "You want me to work for you?" he said, the words tasting strange. "I want you to work with me," she corrected. "You would have a real job, a salary. But more than that, you would have a chance to show your daughter something different, to show her what her father can build, not just what he can buy." He was silent for a long time. He thought of Elara's question in the car. Maybe you are both a little wrong. He thought of the empty feeling after the trial, the hollow space where his ambition used to be. "Why?" he finally asked. "After everything I did, why offer me this?" Samantha's green eyes were clear. "Because someone once gave me a blanket when I had nothing. It changed nothing and it changed everything. This is my blanket." He looked around the grand empty lobby. He saw a tomb for his old dreams. But she saw a foundation for something new. "For Elara's sake," he said quietly. more to himself than to her. For her sake, Samantha agreed. She offered him her hand. After a moment's hesitation, he took it. The handshake was not a deal between rivals. It was a first step. Weeks later, the noise of construction filled the building. Samantha and Huxley stood in the noisy hallway looking over plans. Lisa was there too, handling the legal work. It was slow. It was difficult. But it was real. One afternoon, Alara came to visit. She held her father's hand, looking at the workers, the drywall, the new pipes. "What is it going to be?" she asked Samantha. "A place for people who are lost," Samantha said. "A place to come inside." Ilara smiled. "I like that." She reached into her small backpack and pulled out a drawing. It was a picture of a tall building. The windows were not squares, but hearts. In front of it stood 3 stick figures, a tall one, a medium one, and a small one, all holding hands. She gave it to Samantha. "For your office." Samantha took the drawing. She felt that warm, fragile feeling again. It was not gold. It was not a building. It was being seen. She looked at Huxley, who was watching his daughter with an expression she had never seen on him before. It was not calculation. It was love. The woman everyone had walked past for 10 years was no longer invisible, and in helping others be seen, she had finally found her way home.